Welcome back. It's Kovacs Report. We're going to take a look at Amazing Spider-Man number 9. Yes, Joe Kelly and Marty Dowling on art. So this book hasn't been a raging success for me, let's just say. But I pray that it gets better each month it pops out. So we are going to take a look at this book page by page. There will be spoilers, of course, so please do read the book first. Like the video, and hit subscribe if you can too. So the end of last issue, Peter had an absolute pounding from this villain that no one cares about called Hellgate, which I think either Joe Kelly or Zeb Wells created a while back. They've brought him back for no reason at all, other than this other arc that's going to come further down the line that no one's interested in. But here we are, and it kicks off with these flashbacks that Joe Kelly just insists on putting in the book. I think he honestly believes that these are really like resonant and deep and meaningful, and they have this power that just elevates the story. And they don't. They are boring. They're unnecessary. And I think he's trying to replicate Alan Moore, with the storytelling parallels from the past affecting the present. And honestly, we could do without them. Peter's here playing with his toys. They're having this, fight, and the toys themselves in the battle. They're falling in battle. And he's like, "Don't worry, I'll be there. I'll be strong enough to handle anything that comes along. I'll fix this." A whole sort of Pete's and his responsibility. And then we come back to now, where the Shocker is at the end of some big bank heist, and he's got a new gang called the Aftershocks, which I thought was kind of a cool name, actually. I really did like that. Anyway, so he's blasting the hell out of everything, and someone walks past, looking very worse for wear. Can you guess? Yes, it's Peter Parker. What does he do? Does he suit up? No. He's not interested anymore. He just walks on and lets it happen. So we find out, as we always do with Spider-Man, that he's depressed, he's very dejected, he's given up. He is not just physically healing, he's psychologically healing from everything that's been going on, I mean, the poor bugger, he's had his, the love of his life's with another man. His girlfriend, or on and off girlfriend, Shay, has decided that he has to prove himself, but, she's going to see other men while he's proving himself. Okay, there's a weird thing going on with him and Felicia Hardy. Just basically everything in his life is falling apart, right? It is, again, they've reduced Peter to the absolute pits. There is nothing redeeming going on for Peter right now. J. Jonah Jameson's calling him, but he's not returning the calls. He's saying, listen, since our friend Spider-Man has vanished over the last, I don't know, maybe a few weeks or whatever it's been, or months, he says, crime has shot through. Robberies are absolutely insane. There's bank robberies everywhere. All the bad guys are out. No one's there to protect the city, reflecting back to this thing of like he'll always be there, to do the right thing and protect the people who can't protect themselves. But you know what? He's done. Pete is really, really down. This whole book, conceptually wise, this is the positive about the book, is that you do feel Peter. You feel what he's going through. It is palpable. He is at the absolute bottom, and you can feel that he's not just, like I say, trying to heal physically, but mentally. And you feel the weight on Peter. Like even at work, he's not really with it. But anyway, this is all ruined when we get Joe Kelly's sense of humor thrown into this for Spider-Man, and it just doesn't work for Spider-Man. This little sort of like high five archway thing here, mycoteria, which is this material that they've invented, which is going to help with sustainable housing or something. Putting the room in mushroom for you. It's like all these silly little gags. They're not Spider-Man. They don't suit the Spider-Man humor at all. And honestly, it just enrages me. I know I'm a 50-year-old man here getting upset about one panel, but that's what these reviews are about, right? I just don't get it. It just takes you out a little bit too far out of what you're reading. Anyway, his boss is really pleased. Gives him a pat on the back, and then we get this moment where Brian, his work colleague and old school friend, who they introduce at the beginning of this new run because they needed a character from his past. He tries to set him up with a date with Astrid here, this other scientist, and then there's a page lecturing about this isn't right, you can't do that at work. And again, it's just boring. Like, why is it even in the book? How is this moving the plot forward? Is it to show that Peter's not even interested in dating other people? Well, he's had the living shit kicked out of him, right? His ex-wife is with another man. His girlfriend's screwing around with other men. Why on earth is he going to be in any mental state to start dating again? It just doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Anyway, Norman Osborn turns up to speak to Peter because, again, he's not answering his calls too. But Pete's just not interested. But, Norman says to him, listen, someone tried to kill me. My assassin stood at large. We've had this hobgoblin, nearly poisoning everybody. And the person who attacked you, your attacker, you need to motivate. You need to do something about it. Pete's like, I'm just not interested. He's that down. He's that dejected. So Marvel are very, very good of pushing Peter Parker so far into the dirt, it feels like he can't climb out. Anyway, this page does give me one beautiful panel, which I want to point out. So while he's giving this pep talk, he tries to reach out and console him by, putting his hand on him. And Pete instantly retracts, and I love that because it says everything about these two. They have this very, very big bad history, and even though that they're friends now, that there's something missing. It's not complete. They're not totally like on the most perfect terms, and I like that says a lot in one panel. And if the rest of this book was that clever, it would have been great. Anyway, we get this sort of interlude where Aunt May with her new squeeze, they're talking about Pete, and I forget his name because he's just so unimportant and he'll vanish at some point. He's saying to Aunt May that, maybe you need to do something. My daughter, I think it was his daughter, she died from a drug overdose, and we should have done more, or we should have tried more, but we didn't, or we reacted too late, and that was the result. I don't want to see that happening to your nephew. And she's saying, listen, he doesn't want to speak to me. I've tried. He just won't return my calls, but there is one thing I can try, one last tactic, which we find out later on in the book. So again, that compounds the fact that Peter is that down and that sort of removed from the world. He won't even talk to his own art, his beloved art. So again, the thing through this book that works really well is that his sort of mind, his state of mind of where he is felt. You really do feel the weight of the world that Peter's feeling. So that is the positive. So we jump back to Harlem. And Tombstone's getting a visit from the Shocker here, who's working with him, or for him, or rather. And we get this moment where they're saying, right, we could do more together. So that we've got some more badness coming, I guess, from a Tombstone Shocker team up by the sounds of it, giving Pete some more hassle later on. But we get this Joe Kelly humor, which just really doesn't land, because you've got in the background of the panels, you've got this torture going on in the other room, right? And it's just not even funny. You see him there walking in with a hammer, and he's like, please let me talk to Tombstone, I'm sorry, or whatever. And it's just, I don't know. It feels so forced. They really want you to believe that Tombstone's this terrible gangster. We know he's a terrible gangster, and they put this sort of Pulp Fiction. I don't know, sort of scene behind the scene, and I'm just like bored. And by this point in the book, I was totally bored. It's lucky that these last few pages appeared when they did. So Peter's on the way home. He's talking to someone. It sounds like it's a woman. I don't think it's Shay. And when he gets to his apartment, he says, hey, let me call you back, hun. So I'm assuming that might be Felicia Hardy. Maybe something is going on. They haven't, fully fleshed out in the books. Because I don't think this is Shay. Because if he's not talking to anyone, why would he talk to Shay, right? I mean, she's seeing other men. Why the hell would you do that? I wouldn't. But anyway, he has a surprise visitor, Mary Jane. Now, if you have read All New Venom 9, which I've done a review on, you'll find out that Mary Jane has finally broken up with the character that we hate the most, called Paul. Now, whether you think that's a good thing or bad thing, in my opinion, Mary Jane not being with Paul is a much better it's a much better thing for the whole book, because it sets up more stories we can tell. It sets more goals for Peter. It puts more hurdles in the way. It gives him kind of motivation. So a lot of people, I was surprised, were, well, they were all happy to hear that those two split up, but the jury was divided on whether Pete should take her back or not, because this character, Mary Jane, has been absolutely ruined. Like, Zeb Wells has taken this fully rounded character that added so much more depth and interesting storylines to Peter's life and her own, and reduced it to nothing but like a sort of shock plot device. Anyway, we're not going to go down that path. So she says, after she overhears him call this person on the phone hun, she goes, take it, hun, isn't Aunt May. She's worried about you. And he's been thinking, right? He says, present distractions, though few, are critical to keep me from losing my mind, to keep me from the past. The past is loss. I can't lose anymore. And then we get this page. Now, this is probably where everyone thinks, oh, Mary Jane is going to try and get back with Peter. But this, I'm going to read the whole thing because it's really interesting. He says, message received, just text next time, MJ. He says, you even read those? He says, I'm not doing this. She says, actually, neither am I. May asked me to check in on you. Now I can report you're alive. But there's something else about me, us. Okay, and that us, you instantly think is going to be Peter and her. She says, I've wanted to tell you for a long time, but I was afraid. Then there was your fight, and you've always been my friend, Peter, always. I've tried to be there for you, and obviously you don't want that right now, but I need my friend. And then Venom says, we need you, Peter. So this has all been leading up here, this page, to make you think that she, wants to get back with Peter, but it's not. After everything that she's been doing and everything that she's done, and how rocky their relationship is, like, she suddenly needs a friend, right? So I'll go to Peter because he'll always be my friend. I can twist him round my finger, right? Pete's always going to be the good guy. So she reveals basically she's Venom, right? So this is what she's come to talk about. This is what she has come to Peter with when he's at his lowest. She wants to come and cry on his shoulder because her and Venom have been, united. He goes, there's a long story as to how we got here, but... And he's silent. Now, this page is the best page in the book because this is exactly how I would want Peter to react in this moment. She says, say something, please. And he just laughs to himself. And then he says, the way you were teeing this up, I thought you wanted to get back together. She's like, Peter, she goes, you two deserve each other. And then slams the door in her face, which is what she totally deserves. So this page was very, very, very well done, where the panel stays the same and there were minor changes in it. Really super well done. So that's another positive about the book. Let's go on to the rest of it. So we jump to Shay, like I say, who is Peter's on-off girlfriend that no one cares about. And if suddenly vanished out of the book, no one would notice. And she's having a chat. She's having a chat, and it's so irrelevant. I'm not even going to go over it. It's just there to set up this next moment because something goes boom. All right. And then we see these crooks. I think they're more aftershocks. Some are Shockers guys. They're obviously on the way back from no good. And we get this character which no one cares about. Absolutely nobody cares about. Nobody asked for, but he is being pushed into this book for no reason. Captain Kintsugi. There we go. That's his name. You can forget it now because he's forgettable. No one cares. And why is he even here? Like, why? How is this forwarding the plot? I mean, this could be any other character whatsoever for the next things that are about to happen. But he gets blasted into the building. And then the Aftershocks, they're like, he chose a bad, wrong night to cosplay, kid. So they're about to absolutely zap the hell out of them. But before that can happen, at the very last second, webs shoot down and start plucking these Aftershock guys. And they're like, who is it? Who is it? Who is it? I wonder who it could be. Of course, it's Spiderman. Now, this end panels and this last page are interesting. It says, Pete says to himself, I can't lose again, so I made a deal with myself. From now on, whatever it takes, whatever keeps the pain at bay and staves off any more loss, I'll do it. Pain can't be avoided, but it can be shared vigorously. Now, that piece of writing there was absolutely brilliant. Really, really, really good because it says a lot. It says, has Peter, finally broken? Is he going to sort of break all his own rules? Is he going to go past the line where you can't go back from? Is he going to be a lot meaner? Is he going to do things that you wouldn't normally expect from Spider-Man? Is he fighting himself again? Has he broken, And the fact that he says pain can be shared means he's going to go out there to start hurting the bad guys, right? And vigorously. So, excuse me. So that, I think, was absolutely brilliant. Now, if this book had been like this all the way through, it would have been book of the week. So like I say, it is a massive mixed bag. It's setting some cool stuff up. Much angrier Spider-Man, a bit darker, fighting the inner demons. So I do like that. However, the rest of it, I just don't know. I don't know where it's going. What I do know is that we are going to see 2 Spider-Mans soon, of course. If you've seen all the news, there's going to be a Space Spidey and a, back on Earth Spidey. So I guess this is all leading up to that arc, which nobody asked for and nobody wants, because we want Spidey on the streets doing what he does best. Now, the last thing I notice here is that he has got the very classic Spidey suit on, which looks beautiful. This full page is really, really beautifully rendered. He's got his old-fashioned classic web shooters over the wrist and over the costume. And it looks like he's also got them on his ankles. So he's taking out a lot more webs because he's going to be doing a lot more, bad guy punching. So anyway, those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like the fact that Mary Jane is sort of kind of creeping her way back into Peter's life, or do you not like it? What do you think of where this story is going with an angrier looking Peter? Just let me know. Let me know. So as always, those are my thoughts. Please do let me know yours. If you like the video, I appreciate it. And if you hit subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, Spidey fans, read more comics, and I'll see you soon.